The Kryvax arena had stood for 11,000 cycles, a coliseum of black stone and humming energy shields large enough to swallow a moon. Species from 100 worlds had bled on its sands to settle disputes, prove dominance, or simply entertain the galactic elite who watched from orbit. No human had ever fought there. Until today, Alex Reyes stood at the center of the arena floor, dust settling around his boots, the weight of 10,000 alien eyes pressing down on him like gravity itself. Above, in the observation ring, Lily Chun gripped the railing of the human embassy box so hard her knuckles went white. "You didn't have to accept the challenge," she muttered into the calm bead in her ear, knowing he'd hear it. "Didn't have to," Alex said back, calm as still water. "Wanted to." The challenger across from him was a Drakith war champion named Vosk, 9 feet of corded gray muscle and serrated bone plating, holding a weapon that looked like it had been forged specifically to open human ribcages. The Drakith had called humanity's arrival into galactic society an insult, a soft, short-lived species that had somehow talked its way into a compact seat instead of fighting for one. Vosk had demanded a duel to prove the point. Earth's ambassador had tried to decline on humanity's behalf. Alex had walked past the ambassador without a word and signed the challenge himself. The arena announcer's voice, translated into every language of the compact simultaneously, boomed across the stands. First combat between species Drakith and species human. Champion Vosk Kadresh versus the human called Alex Reyes. Weapons, challenger's choice. Terms, to submission or to death. Vosk had chosen twin serrated blades, each as long as Alex was tall. Alex had chosen nothing. He stood there in a plain gray flight suit, hands empty, and the crowd had laughed, a strange, layered roar of 100 alien throats finding humor in the same joke. "He's unarmed," someone in the human embassy box whispered. "He's not unarmed," Lily said quietly. "He's patient." She had known Alex for 6 years, since the joint program that trained the first human contact specialists for exactly this kind of moment. The moment when some proud species decided the way to test humanity was with violence instead of words. Alex had trained for it in ways the Compact couldn't imagine. Not because Earth wanted war, because Earth had learned, the hard way, over thousands of years of its own bloody history, that peace only holds when the peaceful can also make violence very, very expensive. The horn sounded. Vosk moved first, impossibly fast for something so large, blades crossing in a scissor arc meant to end the fight in one motion. Alex wasn't where the blades landed. He'd stepped inside the arc instead of away from it, the last direction any instinct told a creature to go. And by the time Vosk's brain processed that the softness had vanished from where it should be, Alex's palm was already driving upward into the joint beneath the Drakith's sword arm. Something in Vosk's shoulder gave with a wet crack that echoed off the stone. The war champion roared, more in shock than pain, and swept the second blade around in a wide arc. Alex ducked under it, came up inside Vosk's guard, and drove 3 fast strikes into the same shoulder joint. Vosk's arm went numb. The blade dropped from suddenly nerveless fingers and rang against the arena floor. The crowd's noise changed. Confusion. A ripple of disbelief moving through 10,000 throats. Vosk swung the second blade in a wild, one-armed arc, desperation replacing technique. Alex caught the flat of it against his forearm, the guard on his flight suit sleeve absorbing the shock, twisted, and used the Drakith's own momentum to throw 9 feet and 400 pounds of alien warrior onto the arena floor. The impact cracked stone. Alex dropped a knee onto Vosk's remaining good arm, pinning it, and drove an elbow down onto the same wrist until the second blade skittered away across the sand. Silence. Real silence. The kind that only happens when 10,000 beings from 100 worlds forget, at the same moment, that they know how to make noise. Vosk lay on his back, disarmed, one arm broken, the other pinned, staring up at the small, soft, short-lived creature kneeling on his chest like something had rewritten the laws of physics without asking anyone's permission. Alex looked up at the observation ring, not at the crowd, not at the judges, but directly at the human embassy box, where Lily stood frozen at the railing. He held her gaze for one long second. Then he looked down at Vosk and raised his voice so the translation arrays would carry it to every corner of the Kryvax arena. "Should I return him alive?" Alex said, in a voice that didn't shake at all or shred it. The question landed like a physical blow. Every alien delegate in the arena, every general, every ambassador, every war champion who'd come to watch a human get torn apart for entertainment, went rigid. It wasn't the violence that unsettled them. The arena had seen violence for 11,000 cycles. It was the calm. It was that the question wasn't a threat. It was an option, offered the way a person might ask whether to take the stairs or the elevator. Vosk, pinned and helpless, made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been terror. Alive, Vosk rasped. Return him. Return me, alive. Alex nodded once, like he'd expected exactly that answer and hadn't much cared which way it went, and rose off the Drakith's chest. He didn't gloat. He didn't raise his arms to the crowd. He simply turned and walked back toward the embassy box, dust settling behind his boots, while a full contingent of arena medics rushed onto the sand to collect the war champion who demanded this duel to prove that humans didn't deserve their seat at the table. In the box above, Lily let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding for the entire fight. Around her, the other delegates, veteran diplomats, trellis-eye observers, a compact judge with too many eyes, all stared down at the small human walking calmly across a battlefield he'd just redefined. He asked. The trellis-eye observer said slowly, translating the moment aloud to itself, whether to return the body, alive or in pieces, as though either answer cost him the same amount of effort. It did, Lily said, before she could stop herself. Every eye in the box turned to her. She held the gaze of the compact judge and didn't look away. That's the part you should be worried about. Not that he won, that the question wasn't even hard for him. The judge said nothing. There was nothing diplomatic to say to that. Down on the arena floor, Alex reached the base of the embassy box and looked up, dust on his flight suit, not a single visible cut on him. He offered no salute to the crowd, no victory pose for the recording drones circling above. He simply found Lily's eyes again and gave her the smallest possible shrug, like he was apologizing for making a scene. You could have just won, Lily said through the calm, half exasperated, half something warmer she wasn't ready to name in front of 100 alien governments. You didn't have to ask that. I know, Alex said. But they needed to hear it asked. Not threatened. Asked. Like it was nothing. Above them, the Kryvax arena, 11,000 cycles old, veteran of 10,000 fights between angry, proud, violent species, held on to its silence a moment longer, because for the first time in all those cycles, the crowd wasn't sure whether it had just watched a battle end. It had watched something ask permission to be merciful and mean it either way. And across 100 worlds, in embassies and war rooms and council chambers, the same three words started spreading through every translated broadcast of the match, whispered like a warning that hadn't finished writing itself yet. Alive or shredded, the humans hadn't come to prove they could win. They'd come to prove that winning had never been the question.